This team is soft. And it starts with Rudy Gobert. One of my biggest complaints about Rudy is that he's soft. And last night, I mean, you got your dunk blocked 3 times last night, Rudy Gobert. Not once or twice, 3 times. Terrence Mann got you. Like, I mean, Nick Batum got you. Paul George got you. Like, and the other thing I think that was very clear last night, the Clippers had no problem attacking Rudy Gobert in the paint at the rim. And he also got exposed. Luke Kennard made 2 3-pointers on pick and rolls where Rudy just chose not to step up. And I even tweeted a picture of it. It's so shocking that one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA is Luke Kennard from the LA Clippers. He does one thing. He shoots threes. And Rudy on the pick and roll did not step up multiple times.
Yeah.
And thankfully on the third one where he didn't step up, Luke Kennard missed it. But this team is soft. You look at, I don't know how Royce O'Neal continues to get major minutes on this team. He is a turnstile defensively. I continue to find myself being shocked. Like last night I tweeted that Donovan Mitchell clearly didn't look right.
Yeah.
He did not look right. He did not have lift last night. And then he gets that dunk off the Trent Forrest pass before Rudy knocked Trent Forrest off. Fuck out!
That was pretty gnarly, too.
Oof.
I'll drop that mother.
Yeah, and he did. But my point is, like, Don has one dunk, and everybody's like, oh, you're an idiot. And it's like, okay, well, by the way, how many threes did Donovan Mitchell make last night? 2, 3, 4? Zero. Donovan Mitchell did not make a 3 last night. They did not make a 3 in the fourth quarter. They made 2 in the second half after making 10 in the first half, 3-pointers. What is there to say about this team? They're playing out the string.
Yes.
That's what this team is doing. And I don't know that that's a problem. Everybody wanted to blame Quinn Snyder for Donovan Mitchell's timeout. How about you blame Donovan Mitchell? Not only, let's get real clear about this. Not only did he call a timeout, he clearly tried to walk away with the basketball. You cannot move on a bucket, on an inbound pass off a not made basket.
Yeah.
You cannot move. He has to stand there. And then he calls a timeout. Like, how is that Quinn Snyder's fault? It's like, do you understand? And I don't mean to rail about this, but you understand this is the exact same team it was last year with one notable exception. And that is Rudy Gay is here and Joe Ingles is not. That's the only significant roster change. Guys like Mia Oni, guys like George Niang are not significant. The significant change was Rudy Gay for Joe Ingles.
Yeah.
And Rudy Gay was not the problem last night. He shot the 3 fine. The guy is just who he is. He can't defend.
I just think the thing that really stands out, from this game is like you have all these kind of subset of stories. You've got the Gobert comments after the game. You've got Don's, trying to call a timeout, but you don't have a timeout. You've got Don not making a 3. All these little things that go on during the course of a game. And what really stands out to me is the team is just not together. That's really what stands out. The team is not playing together. They're not playing great team basketball. They're not, like, the belief to me isn't really there anymore. You're just, like you said, you're just playing out the string, and I think that's really tough. I think that the Jazz, you can only get to a certain point of frustration before you start to say, this season probably is, we'll get to the postseason and we'll play our playoff series, but this ain't it. And I think that the other thing we have to talk about is the fact that Rudy was moving just fine last night. I think we have to revisit the topic of, hey, why didn't you play in Dallas? And I think that's adding to the frustration of this game last night, because even though Rudy Gobert played last night, it's not like that really caused any type of issue for the Clippers. Obviously late, there wasn't any kind of issue. And I think that, Rudy had some nice blocks and some nice moments, but I don't know. Like, again, I noticed last night Donovan Mitchell won't give him the ball in the pick and roll, but he's happy to give Rudy Gay the ball in the middle of the paint so Rudy Gay can kick it back out. I don't think it's any secret. I don't think we should run from it. These two don't like playing together. It's not a secret, and it's not outlandish to say. And I think that the only question that really remains as far as this team is concerned, is how painful is it going to be going out, in the first round? Do you survive the first round? Because as we're about to detail, the 6th seed is something that is probably a reality. Falling to the 6th seed is probably going to happen at this point because of where you are, and I think that's really rough. I think that's really rough, and it doesn't feel good, but it's the facts of the case because the Denver Nuggets are hot, and they're right. What did you say? They are a half game back now.
Correct.
So that's
and they have the Indiana Pacers tonight.
yeah.
Who half their lineup is out for the year and the other half plays for the Sacramento Kings.
So,
I mean,
that's a pretty good recipe to go ahead and pick up half a game when the team ahead of you isn't playing tonight. So,
yeah, I mean, if you could change one thing about this team, what would it be?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's easy to say, hey, I'd love to trade Rudy and create a new dynamic. Yeah, I mean, that's easy. I mean, right now, here today, I think we're at a point now in the season where you're in a tough spot if you're this organization. Because would I love to say to Rudy, yeah, we're gonna move you. We don't want to play you, or you're done for the season, or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, sure, and we can play other guys.
Yeah,
but you're not gonna do that. Obviously, that's outlandish. That's off the reservation, if you will. So right now, I don't think there's much you can change. I think in the summer, I think the Rudy Gobert situation is priority number one because. And I'm not trying to stir the pot on the Don leaving thing, but these types of situations, if you allow them to brew, if you allow them to continue.
If you allow them to fester, and if you don't address it aggressively.
Yeah, with a clear direction. These are the type of things that star players don't want to be around. And I think that, whether you're a Rudy Gobert fanboy or you're not, a Rudy Gobert fanboy, there's no denying that Rudy Gobert is the center of the drama on this team, one way or another, almost on a nightly basis. And didn't he? And you said because again, his Rudy Gobert's post-game comments weren't on video. Who's surprised? But he said something like, I can't speak for everybody in terms of who wants to win every night or something like that.
I hate losing, but I can't speak for everybody.
I mean, what kind of backhanded comment is that? And sometimes I just want to say to Rudy, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are in the league? Because I got news for you. Just because you're paid $41 million a year doesn't mean that you're LeBron James. It doesn't mean that you're Kevin Durant or even Donovan Mitchell, And that's the thing that I think Rudy needs to work on. He needs to humble himself and understand his role.
Well, and I thought it was interesting that everybody was sending me Joe Ingles' jersey tweet about good vibes and he tweeted a picture of his Trailblazers jersey, Joe Ingles did. And he said good vibes only on it. And I mean, is that Joe Ingles taking a shot at the Utah Jazz? Apparently Mia Oni said something as well on Twitter, and
he said history repeating itself as if to take a shot at the Jazz. And all I'm saying with all this Twitter stuff is I know that we have Joe Ingles people on the show and or the people, listeners like James Knight and a few others and all that. My point is it doesn't really matter. Honestly, dude, it doesn't matter if Oni or Joe Ingles wants to tweet about good vibes and history repeating itself.
Absolutely it matters. Absolutely. I totally disagree. Absolutely it matters. And you know why it matters? Because that's taking a shot at guys like Quinn Snyder. That's taking a shot at the organization. Is what that is. When Quinn Snyder, is battling for his team's life, and Joe Ingles is tweeting a picture. And, honestly, I follow Joe on Twitter. I saw that, and I never thought about Sarah Todd's article, which is what he's referencing, that Sarah Todd said that this is a bad vibe team. And I now that I've seen that and I think about that, I think it is Joe Ingles taking a shot at the club. I think it is one of those things where when you have former players taking public shots at the Utah Jazz, that's a big deal. That doesn't happen. Usually you're dead to me. A guy like Joe Ingles, whose family still lives here, who espouses so much love, it is not a minor thing when he is tweeting a picture of his Blazers jersey saying good vibes. I don't view that as a minor thing.
Well, I mean, I think that the point I was just trying to make is that, if you're a player in that locker room, you don't really have time to worry about, these type of instances. I do agree that it's not great that these guys are taking shots at the organization on Twitter,
Do
but
I have to like come over there and punch you in the
yeah,
face?
sure. Punch
I
me,
think so. I
punch
think
me in the
so.
face, dude.
I think so
Punch me
because
in the face.
when look, Chris Rock,
Yeah.
I just want to like, how are we so opposed on this? And we haven't talked about this in our vaunted pre-show secretive
Behind
meeting
the scenes.
in the bunker where nobody's allowed to listen.
Donnie, please.
I think the problem is that this Utah Jazz team is focused on shit like this almost exclusively because they ain't
Well, I
focused
agree
on
with
winning.
that. Yeah.
They're focused on Joe Ingles. Oh, did you see what Joe put on Twitter?
Yeah.
They're focused on that.
Yeah.
They think about that.
Yeah.
They talk about that. And I think really that's a problem. You don't think that's a problem?
No, no. What I was saying is that I think that they should not be they should not be focused on it. I think if you're an NBA player, I mean, this conversation is forever old. Like, it's, in terms of how long it's been around, like you can't be focused on, Twitter and the social media. Yet these guys are, and I think that. Again, it just speaks to where the team is at. You're focused on everything except what's going on the floor. And the saying goes something like, you take care of basketball or you take care of football or whatever your, sporting profession is, it'll take care of you. And I think that Donovan Mitchell is one of the only guys, that I see that, is able to, see what, and Andy Larson said the other day, or see Joe Ingles tweeting or whatever, and still come out and do his job. And I think that's the thing. This team is not full of guys who are overly talented. You've got a guy in Paul George who hasn't played in months, dude. Came right back, lit you up, no problem. Was first quarter turning Mike Conley over repeatedly. Like, the guy is just better than you, and this Jazz team has one of those guys, and that's Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I think the comments Rudy made after the game where he said, about blowing a big lead again. He said, I mean, it hurts. It hurts, to be honest. I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, it hurts.
What does that even mean, dude?
Well, and I think this goes back to, is Rudy Gobert liked by his teammates? And I think the answer almost universally is no. I think there are chemistry problems in this locker room. We've been reporting this since December, that these guys don't necessarily like each other. These guys don't necessarily like playing together.
Yeah.
And I think what you're seeing is when they get into those situations, and if you have never competed athletically, and I've been very fortunate. I've played a lot of important games in team sports, and I can tell you, being around championship teams like the Lakers, I've been around a lot of really good teams. The San Francisco Giants are a perfect example of this. When the going gets tough, you close ranks. You don't say things like, it hurts, but I can't speak for everybody. Because what you're saying there is, I'm not sure everybody cares about losing. And that's just not the case. There's not a guy in that locker room that isn't frustrated right now. You can't tell me that Donovan Mitchell doesn't care about losing. He clearly does. And the thing that bothers me so much about this and the Donovan Mitchell timeout situation, the Royce O'Neal refusing to shoot again last night, Rudy Gobert not, in my opinion, competing offensively. The thing that bothers me so much is that it just doesn't need to be this way. The problem that bothers me so much is it's very clear you don't have the right guys. It's very clear that Ryan Smith has not done a good enough job. It's very clear that Justin Zanuck has not done a good enough job. This largely is not on the players, but everybody points their fingers at the players. You need to understand that players simply play the game. 9 out of 10 guys play to their very best ability every single night at what separates them. But when you have guys like Rudy and Donovan who don't like each other, they don't get along, they don't like playing together, they've had run-ins in the locker room and off the court this year, it's not their fault that it continues. It is not Donovan Mitchell's fault that he shoots too much and turns the ball over. That's on Quinn Snyder. It is not Donovan Mitchell's fault that he doesn't have a go-to number 2 option on this team. That's Justin Zanik's fault. It is not Rudy Gobert's fault that he is the only guy that is capable of playing defense in the paint. That is Justin Zanik's fault. And we can point fingers at all these different players. The failure of this team right now is Ryan Smith. The failure of this team right now is Justin Zanik, because this has been going on too long. And when we sit here and we talk about, hey, this is the exact same outcome we saw a year ago, is that Donovan Mitchell's fault? No, it's not. The fault lies with the owner and the general manager. Danny Ainge has been here for 15 minutes. He hasn't even had a chance to really do anything. And again, I'm just going to go back to what I've been reporting to you and what sources have been telling me since the turn of the year. These guys don't like each other. There is frustration with Rudy Gobert because he mouths off in the locker room far too often. And the thing last night, I think it was January or February, where I talked about that Rudy does not defend on the pick and roll. And everybody fucking lost their mind and blasted me and said, you're a casual, you don't watch games. Hey, man, you're a casual. Am I a casual now?
You're a casual.
Right? Like, I can only say it so many times. Rudy Gobert is a limited player.
Yeah.
His limitations are he cannot defend the perimeter, and he is a liability offensively. He is excellent at the rim. When Ivica Zubac wants to try and dunk on him, there's only one guy I want at the rim, and it's Rudy Gobert. But if I got to defend the pick and roll, there's 1,000 other guys I want instead of Rudy Gobert. Right? It just is what it is. And the issue is he's not the only problem. But fuck, man, he's a problem.
Well, he's the main problem because of what he's paid.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. But you look at Donovan Mitchell, it's unforgivable to call a timeout there. It is unforgivable. Not once, not twice, 3 times to get picked from behind by Paul George last night. It's unforgivable. It's unforgivable of Quinn Snyder to have Royce O'Neal in the game in big moments, but it's unforgivable that Royce O'Neal won't make good decisions and cannot think under pressure. It's unforgivable. It is beyond me that Jordan Clarkson simply forgets how to score the basketball when they're going through these stretches where they're losing. And I'm trying to understand. Like, it's unforgivable, Quinn Snyder, to review that fucking foul. That's unforgivable. Here's the other part of the Quinn Snyder conversation. Why have these parts of the game, why are you terrible out of timeouts? Why is this team not good out of timeouts? I don't understand it. You're calling the timeout in the right situation, but what you're running out of that timeout doesn't work. Okay, 20% of that is probably that you don't have your athletes. Okay, I get that. The other 80% is it's just a flawed theory. It's a flawed theory. But you don't have any more timeouts when you really needed one because I think you wanted to placate Rudy Gobert. That was a terrible challenge. You cannot challenge that call there.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and we can point fingers at the players, but I'm telling you right now, the failure of this team is the high and mighty, oh, Ryan Smith is this great owner that's going to change the world and keep it exactly the same as it was for the last year. It's Ryan Smith's fault. It is. He's absolutely responsible for this. And look, I don't have a problem with Justin Zanik. I really don't. I think he's a serviceable executive in the NBA.
Yeah.
He cannot be pulling the strings anymore. He cannot. You've got, in my opinion, to allow Danny Ainge to run the player. The player, what's the right way to say this? Everything having to do with what players are on the floor and what they're doing has to run through Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
Period. It's that simple. Because you're standing still, man, and everybody's running past you. And I'm a little burned out on, tech executive and giant. Oh, he saved RSL. What does that mean to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert? Okay, cool. He's a billionaire. Nice. What does that mean?
How about we flex some of those billionaire dollars to get some talent?
Not on Mike Conley to pay the luxury tax. Like, do you understand now that the Mike Conley thing was a terrible decision? I understand the Rudy contract. You would own the team for like 37 seconds, and Dennis Lindsey, the beloved Dennis Lindsey, who, oh, man.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Dennis Lindsey walked up to you 37 seconds. The ink wasn't even dry on your ownership papers, and he's like, yeah, by the way, I want to give Rudy Gobert, $200 million and pay him $41 million a year. You good with that? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, thanks. That's how the Rudy Gobert contract went down. Like, what was he going to say? No? What I'm telling you is you can point at the players and point at the owner, point at the GM, point at the head coach.
Yeah.
Because the players are just doing what they know how to do. All right, I feel better. Not really. I don't feel better.
What are the people saying?
We probably shouldn't read the comments today. Talking with Raphael podcast says, good morning. Shout out to Mo Bamba for Raphael. Good to see you, Raphael.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
You. Tanner Plummer says the Utah Jazz, a.k.a. the Atlanta Falcons of the NBA. Edgar Garcia says, good morning, players. Man, oh, man, did the Jazz shut down last night.
Mm-hmm.
How the F are people still saying that you guys don't watch Jazz games? It's remarkable.
It's incredible.
And I'll read you the comment because I actually think
Please, we could use some laughs in our life.
I actually think it's that funny.
Yeah.
I need to see if I can find it because we got a lot of comments yesterday, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Let me see. Where do it be?
On the handy dandy iPhone.
Yeah, we got. Let's. I haven't responded. I don't know. I'll look for it. But the guy straight up says, "You guys watch 3 games and then make a snap decision. You don't watch Jazz games."
This is a testament to how many comments we get, by the way.
Yeah, I can't. I'm buried in comments on it, honestly. I'd like to read all the comments on it, but I can't.
But yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of people out there who read the headlines and just go with it. But I think that, yeah, I mean, we watch every game, like we do. So I just think that, yeah, this team is. The next 3 seasons are going to be rough, dude. I'm just telling you guys now. The team, they're going to tear this thing down in the summer, and then that process of getting back to being relevant in the Western Conference will be really interesting.
It will be, and I think it's interesting that there's so much. I can't find it. We had over 300 comments yesterday, so I apologize. I shouldn't have brought it up. But, yeah, I just – there's no quick solution for this. That's the other thing that everybody keeps saying, well, how do we fix it? You don't fix it. You burn it down. You burn it down. You're going to – what did you say about the Dark Knight before the show today? You endure.
Yeah, you endure.
You endure.
You endure. Yeah.
It's endure.
Endure.
Like an English guy.
Yeah, you have to endure the pain now. You have to go through the process. And, and we were specifically talking about what would you say – if you were Quinn Snyder to Donovan Mitchell this morning, what would you say to him when you came into the building or the practice facility or whatever? I would say, yeah, man, you have to endure. And I empathize with you that this is difficult right now. And I know we're doing everything that we can do, but right now we're just in that painful stretch of the season where it can't get over soon enough.
And you have arguably the worst defensive team in the NBA coming to town tomorrow. In the Lakers, and
my God, you better beat them, dude. Like I don't know if you can't beat the Lakers. I mean, the Pelicans beat the Lakers. Come on, dude.
But there is something to be said for guys coming back to play the Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Like Paul George had no reason to come back last night, and he came back against the Jazz
and made a statement doing it.
And LeBron and AD are close to returning. Would it surprise anybody if LeBron and AD showed up at the Viv tomorrow night and ready to play?
And I don't want to hear people saying, oh, well, the Jazz just have bad luck. All these guys, the timing of it is worked out perfectly. It's not luck, dude. They're working their ass off to come back to play you.
Yeah, it's not luck at all. Funky Orion says, when I saw the Jazz lead by 15 or more, I felt bad because they will blow it, and they did. Good morning, Greg Hawkins. Jordan A says, morning, guys. Gobert got to stop flailing those arms and injuring his own players. Total drama queen, like you guys have said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Funky says, and hopefully they don't lose the remaining games. Oh, and this meltdown happened on national TV. What a great time to be a Jazz fan. Okay. Funky says Donovan feels frustrated. I hope he does. They kept losing. I mean, there's not a quick way to not lose.
Yeah.
There's not a way to be around this. You know what I mean? Like there's just not. And I don't know. I mean, this is who this team is. I can only say it so many times. This is the exact same team you had last year.
And this is why the trade deadline was such an issue. Not going and getting a Spencer Dinwiddie was such an issue because last night, a Dinwiddie-type player is exactly who you needed. You needed someone to give you that spark. And I think that this team, more and more, and even if Bogdanovich was playing, more and more, it just turns into, hey, what do we get from Don and hope for the best from everybody else? That's what offense is for this team, and I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah, and I just don't know how you – I just don't know how you don't – I don't know how you don't go about, changing this roster. I don't know how you don't – how do you not make that Dinwiddie deal?
Yeah. You
could have had Spencer Dinwiddie, and they just didn't want to do that. And I really wish that, I really wish that – I wish they had made that deal. Here's that comment I was talking about. Austin McBride. The number one contributor of screen assists in the NBA is never an offensive liability. These guys have watched like 3 Jazz games and make snap judgments that make 0 sense. Real ones know, casuals.
Okay.
And this is the thing with Rudy Gobert.
Stats guy.
So, yeah, hey, look. He is his highest best use on offense is without question pick and roll. It's without question. But what happened last night with Donovan in the first quarter? They tried to run pick and roll, and they were so far out of sync on pick and roll that is there anybody that questions whether Rudy Gobert last night, specifically, look at last night, when you're almost arch nemesis at this point, the LA Clippers, was Rudy Gobert a liability offensively last night? I don't know how you say that he's not.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be objective about it.
I would love to hear an argument, a counter argument to it.
He's 4 of 7, 1 of 6 from the free throw line with 3 air balls, 16 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 3 turnovers, a -1 last night, 9 points. 9 points. He's 1 of 6 from the line, and this team was 17 of 29. They shot 58.6%. And the other thing that's really clear here that I took a lot of heat on Twitter for last night is all of this is self-inflicted. You understand that, right? I love the Clippers in their game and tenacity, and they're a tough-ass team to play against. The LA Clippers can defend anybody.
Yeah.
That's not why the Jazz lost. It's not why the Jazz lost. They lost because you got 33 points out of Donovan Mitchell. And Hernan Gomez was arguably your best 3-point option last night. And you got beat defensively.
Yeah.
You got beat defensively. I mean, you scored 115 points. But fuck, man, you gave up 121.
Do you see the I don't even know what to call it, but Don is putting up 33 points with a bum ankle and basically no help on offense. Do you get that? Do you understand how damn good he is? That's insanely good for where this team is at.
He should not play tomorrow night against the Lakers. He should not play. It makes no sense for him to play that Laker game.
Well,
and if somebody wants to explain that to me, and make the case, why would he play? Why would you have Donovan Mitchell play on the road against Golden State? Why?
Well, because I think I know this sounds pretty ridiculous on its face, but I think you're trying to stay out of the play-in right now, honestly.
I don't. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't see any way they fall into the play-in tournament.
Well, I didn't see any way that they blew that 25-point lead, and now here we are.
Guy, they're 2 games up on Minnesota. Like, how are you with 6 to play or
They've
whatever
lost
it is?
4 of their last 5. Who's to say, and I'm not saying they're going to lose out, but who's to say that they don't lose 70% of the rest of their games, and Minnesota finds a way to win a couple they shouldn't? That's what we're talking about here. Like,
yeah, I look at Minnesota and look, I like Minnesota a lot. I've talked about it on this show that I think the world of Minnesota. I think that's a very dangerous team. But they got blown out by Boston, right? And now they're going to Toronto, Denver, and Houston. They're going to lose 2 of those 3. They're going to beat Houston. Then it's home to finish the season, Washington, San Antonio, and Chicago. And San Antonio needs this win desperately. The Bulls need the win desperately. They're trying to stay in the home court.
yep.
And Washington, they should win that game. I think they have 3 possible wins left on their schedule. And I agree that it ain't like the Jazz have a schedule full of wins. They should beat the Lakers.
They should.
They should beat the Lakers. They're right. I mean, I think we all can agree on that. But I mean, I look at the Golden State Warrior game. They should beat Golden State with or without Don. I mean,
See, I'm not as confident in that game. I'm not. I think that
Golden State without Steph, Golden State's just not the same team.
Well, no, of course
mean-
they're not the same team, but that's not really what we're like. I don't think that's the standpoint we should be having the conversation from. I think we got to talk about matchups and how this game plays out. Golden State likes to play fast. Golden State can shoot the 3 at a pretty high rate, even without Steph, and I don't know. I just think that Golden State has some athletes that can hurt you.
Okay. Home for the Lakers is a win.
Yeah, that's a
At
win.
Golden State, okay, great. Call it a loss. Home for Memphis,
That's a loss.
okay. Home for Oklahoma City.
That should be a win, but again, I just want to point this out. Call me a hater. You lost to that team earlier this year. I just want to point that out. I know you're at home. You shouldn't lose. I'm with that. But I'm just telling you, when you ask me, hey, how could they follow the play-in? That's one of those games where I'm like, hey, you're up 15 at the half. There should be no problem. This should be Jared Butler for 20 minutes tonight. And it turns into you win by like 1 point and you have to grind it out. That's the kind of game I'm talking about. But let's call that a win on the schedule.
Home for Phoenix next Friday.
That's a loss. That's a loss.
At Portland next Sunday to end the season.
That's a
the 10th.
win for sure. There should be no.
So those are 3, possibly 4 wins on their schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should win those games.
Yeah.
The question is, what are you going to do with Donovan Mitchell's ankle? Because Don needs to be 60, 70, 80% in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because this is the same right ankle he had that injury on last year,
It's
by the
so
way.
crazy how similar this is playing out to last year's postseason. It's very, very similar. With Don's ankle and Rudy drama
And zero depth and nobody to help and
Terrence Mann
and Bogey's out now and
it's like, dude, damn.
yeah.
It's the same narratives.
Braden Christensen says, I'm done as a Jazz fan for the rest of the season. This team sucks. They're going nowhere in the playoffs, and they will get bounced out in the first round. I live in Arizona, and the Suns are my second favorite team. Might as well jump on that bandwagon and cheer for a team that knows how to play basketball and has chemistry. Wow.
Well, I think that's real easy for you to do. I enjoy watching the Jazz play ball too, no doubt.
Yeah.
But
Av Lee says, this is such a soft Jazz team, the softest team and the softest mentality I've ever seen from the Jazz, even compared to the years back when we're not even a playoff contender, just sad.
I mean, I agree. This is one of the softer teams I've seen in quite some time. And this team is different than last year's team by a lot.
Yep. Frank H says, crazy how Rubio had gotten us further than Mike Conley has. Well, it's not Mike Mike Conley's fault they wanted to bring him back.
Yeah. It's not his fault that they paid
if
him.
I can stand my ground and say I told you so, the Mike Conley thing is one of that's one
It's
of the
one
ones
of the best things
I'll ever say. Anyway. It is what it is. It seems like the 6-3 matchup will be Jazz Mavs still with the Warriors with the way the Warriors are playing right now. Yeah, could be. Yeah, absolutely. Avlee says, leave Rudy alone. He's not the main issue. He's actually the most consistent player on the team.
No, he's not.
The problem is
He's
he makes $41 million. And no, he's not consistent. He's not the most consistent player
9
on
points
the team.
last night looks really consistent compared to his 20 points a night, right?
Do you understand that this guy has been negative more than he has been positive since the All-Star break? Not negative. Like, he is giving up more points than they are scoring when he's on the floor. He is a negative. He is part of the problem. And I think everybody votes for awards on highlights.
Yes.
And Rudy is a very good defensive player, but he cannot guard the perimeter. If he's at the rim, he is the best defender in the NBA. But he's not an elite perimeter defender by any stretch of the imagination. I know that you love the guy, but I'm just going to keep saying it. Rudy Gobert is unathletic and he is soft. Rudy Gobert is unathletic and he is soft.
Yeah.
He is not skilled. He is not a guy that is able to dribble most times, and his footwork is lacking, and he's never addressed that. And it's not like he's a 25-year-old kid anymore. We're not talking about Enes Kanter or Rudy Gobert anymore. He's making $41 million a year. He's the centerpiece of your team. You're built around Rudy Gobert, and it's a huge mistake. Those are the facts. Is it Rudy's fault? No. Does Rudy Gobert suck? No, he doesn't. Is Rudy Gobert a problem? Damn right he is. He's a huge problem. He's a $41 million problem. Because you look at the other guys, and again, I know we just talked about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to point this out any clearer than just say, hey, these are the guys that are making the most money in the league this year. And again, I would just ask you to consider when we look at this, I would ask you to consider, how does Rudy Gobert compare to these guys? The highest paid player in the NBA this year is Steph Curry at $45.7 million.
Okay.
John Wall's number 2 at $44.3 million. James Harden is number 3 at $44.3 million. Russell Westbrook is number 4 at $44.2 million. Kevin Durant's number 5 at $42 million. Like, if you look at these numbers, like, he's making a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And think about some of the guys. Like, I think his actual cap hit this year is what?
35.3, it looks like.
So if you think about some of the guys that he's paid on just this year alone, he's paid the same amount of money as Chris Middleton, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Drew Holiday. I mean, and then when you start looking at the average number, and you start to realize that his number goes up every year. This year he's 34.8. Next year he's 37.6. 3 years he's 40.4. And then in 2024-25, Rudy Gobert is going to make $43.2 million, which will be more money. Than guys like Jimmy Butler.
It's insane.
It's
guys more than Joel. It's more than Jokic. More than a ton of guys.
Think about that. Think about the guys. Nikola Jokic is making $5 million less than Rudy Gobert.
Donovan Mitchell is at $28.1 million.
Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid is making $5 million less than Rudy Gobert this season.
Jason Tatum, 28.1.
CJ McCallum, D'Angelo Russell. You look at, I'd rather, frankly, if you said to me, hey, would you trade Jason Tatum for Rudy Gobert? Yes.
All day.
Jason Tatum's making $28.1 million. Brandon Ingram, would you trade Rudy Gobert for Brandon Ingram? Yes, I would. Brandon Ingram is making $29.4 million.
Draymond Green, $24 million.
I mean, it's remarkable. Jaylen Brown, 26.7. DeMar DeRozan, 26. I come on, man. Like, you look at these numbers, they're paying Mike Conley $21 million.
Steven Adams.
They're paying
million.
They're paying Mike Conley $21 million a year.
It's insane.
So
wait.
Zach
so
LaVine's making 19.5.
Let me get this right. You're going to pay these guys
Good Lord.
exponentially more than you should. And then you're going to be upset when you don't have a good team.
Domantas Sabonis, $18.5 million. You guys, you can't possibly think that Rudy Gobert is not a problem.
Brooke Lopez, 13.3.
I mean, like, go up and down this list.
DeAndre Ayton, 12.6.
Oh my God.
Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, I don't mean to make a whole skit about this and go on something too long, but when you start comparing Rudy's game to some of these other guys who are paid substantially less money.
Isn't Luka only making like $9 million?
10.1. 10.1 for Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic is making 10.1 and Rudy's making $35 million.
It's insane. I don't know.
And you're telling me that Rudy Gobert is not a problem? Get the fuck. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Mason Plumlee, $9.2 million.
Oh my God. Please. Please.
Mo Bamba, $7.5 million.
Stop it.
Bro.
Stop it.
Come on.
Anyway. Kobe Don says, as a non-Jazz fan, it seems like Rudy is the one that needs to go, but his value has been exposed. So it would be harder to move him.
I agree completely.
You're going to have to eat probably 35 to 40% of the remaining value of that contract. And that's a lot of money, which is why you can't look. Rudy Gobert is not your worst player, but it comes with the territory, Av. He's making $41 million on average. He's got to produce.
It matters, bro.
Jeez.
Like, I think before you read the next one, I just want to make this point. When you look at like the best players that the league's ever seen over the course of time, you look at the Stephs, the LeBrons, you start going back in time, Kobe, Michael, those guys. Like, I remember when I was in my teenage years when Kobe was getting paid, dude, like he was getting bread. And the point was that team sucked. He had won multiple titles for them and they were taking care of him. And it's Kobe effing Bryant, dude. It's Kobe, dude. Kobe Bean Bryant, right? There's no dispute that you're happy to pay the guy. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I want to say he was like mid-40s for a season or two at the end of his career that they were paying him. Nobody had a problem with that because it's Kobe, right? You can't ignore the dynamic that is money in the NBA. Money doesn't matter when we talk about who's paying for dinner. But damn if it matters when we're talking about championships and your team construction. It matters, man. A lot.
They're paying Mike Conley $21 million. That is like, that's as bad as Rudy's 41.
I mean, it's this whole situation, not to go off the reservation here, but it's this whole situation with Aaron Rodgers, right? Think about it. You decided to pay Aaron Rodgers, what was it, 50 a year, I think, or whatever he broke, whatever ridiculous number it is. So let me get this right. You want to pay Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year, but you want to trade Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league, by everyone's standard. It's unanimous.
You paid the quarterback $50 million and traded his best receiver.
Well, who's he going to throw the ball to?
Come on.
And that's why I think, again, just to finish this point, that's why I think when guys like Tom Brady take less to win more, it is such a great thing. And that's what I think a lot of teams need to get back to, is finding guys like that.
Yeah, and Scott Howard says Luka and Ayton's contracts aren't comparable with Rudy because of where they are. Next contract, they'll get a ton of money, but your point is well taken.
But
no,
Rudy's 1 year ahead.
Whoa. The Suns are refusing to pay DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton wants Rudy Gobert money. The Suns have refused to extend his contract. They're saying no, and you know what their logic in that was? This isn't a big man's league. We can't afford to give 20+% of our salary cap to the center. So Ayton and Gobert's contract situations are very comparable because the Jazz rolled over because the beloved, Dennis Lindsey's a beloved figure. Oh, Dennis. Oh.
Wow.
That was
That's
probably
fucking interesting, man.
Wow. Wow.
See,
Keep it real.
I got lost in the moment. Daddy.
Wow.
Anyway, the point is.
Wow.
Daddy. The point is the Phoenix Suns are like, nah, bro, we're not paying you $40 million a year.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
We would give that money to Devin Booker, but we're not giving that money to you because you're a center and you don't play defense.
Man, the Jazz highlights are on in the background. I mean, Paul George just was terrorizing Mike Conley, dude. Like, Just repeatedly.
But no, what they're doing, do you understand what the Clippers did last night watching these highlights? They attack the rim.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they did is they played on that. They used that attacking style at the rim to get guys like Luke Kennard looks.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. It works perfectly. And you look at the way that the Jazz fell apart in this game is they turned the ball over and they gave up second chance opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. I mean,
and even Sports Center's doing it.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's amazing.
It's brutal. And you watch Terrence Mann give the ball to a wide open Luke Kennard because Nacho Cheese Hertzingo, your mama,
he's a bum,
leaves him open at the top. Hey, by the way, somebody forgot to tell. Hey, Conley, Reggie Jackson shoots threes.
Reggie Jackson.
He can make
Isn't Reggie the perfect example, too?
Look at Paul George go right into Rudy Gobert's Anyway, we'll stop. Avlee says, I didn't say he's worth $40 million a year. It's not his fault someone went nuts paying. I'm just saying he's the most consistent in his game, not out of his game. Okay, when you say he's consistent, tell me what. You don't know what you're going to get point-wise out of Rudy. There's one thing he does consistently well every night. He rebounds. That's what he does. And on some nights he rim protects really well. But against the Clippers, he doesn't get to rim protect because they don't care. They're going to go into his chest. And they're not going to hand the ball to Ivica Zubac every time so Rudy can block those shots.
Yeah.
And by the way, the biggest issue with this team is not Rudy Gobert on the floor. The biggest X and O basketball issue is they turn the ball over. They don't box out. That Hartenstein dunk from the Paul George pass was because nobody boxed Hartenstein out. Nobody. So it is what it is. Just a couple more because we got to talk about pornography and it's killing your marriage. Gobert's contract is like Luol Deng of the Lakers when we decided to let him when we decided to let this no offense tower. Yeah, the Lakers, I think the Lakers are still paying Bobby Bonilla. That's a Bobby Bonilla. Does anybody understand that? The Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla. If you know, you know. Caleb says, I grew up a Pistons fan. It sucks seeing Reggie Jackson play out of his mind in L.A. Where was this when he played in Detroit? And don't get me started about Greg Monroe. Greg Monroe's a serviceable guy if you play him 10 minutes a night.
Again, add him to the list.
Yeah. Blame the Millers, and Garcia said, don't you dare talk about
the Millers. Oh.
Don't. And Garcia says too much, Monty. Sorry. Jeremy Bolton says the daddy and the wow, what a loser drop are the goats.
Daddy?
Funky Orient says, sorry for asking. Maybe I missed something. I checked the web now and noted Gobert's salary is US 35. Not sure why different from 41. 41 is the amateurized, which means the average every year. When you take the total value divided by
X, Y, Z, banana, and everything.
He averages $41 million a year. You'll notice that every year of Gobert's contract, it escalates. It goes up. So you take his total contract divided by the years in the deal because contracts in the NBA are fully guaranteed.
And we were saying that.
Yeah. And so he averages $41 million a year. Josh Lovern says KD doesn't think highly of Rudy's game at all. No, I would not think he does. Eric C says, morning, everyone. Did we really blow the lead last night? Who, RSL, Eric?
Oh, what a loser.
Eric was like, hey, man, if you guys don't like RSL, send them to California.
Hey, guys.
They can't pay the taxes in California.
Okay, with all due respect, I understand that RSL matters in Salt Lake. I get it. Who the hell cares? Please.
It's not RSL. It's Real Salt Lake.
Sorry.
It's not real. Real Salt Lake. Yeah, the Real Salt Lake is out by the airport, bro.
It's at Rio Tinto.
It's Real Salt Lake. Rio Tinto Stadium, bruh. Anyway.
Wow.
Stop. I'm a terrible person. Casey Finlinson, what's for lunch today? He says, Rudy does not consistently rebound. I wish somebody could find out how many rebounds he got in the fourth quarter because it looks like he consistently just is pushed out of the way. But that's logical, Casey. No. Donovan No Mamba Mitchell. And Garcia says.